So we're gonna see today if the Tesla Model S with Autopilot will actually pass a California driving test. So I have a driving test right here with me that my girlfriend just did. So I can see what they are actually looking for. And I don't work at the DMV, so take this video as my opinion because that's what it actually is. It's no it's not official. So what you're gonna see from now on is just my opinion. And just really quick, I wanna say thanks to my subscribers. I have 42 subscribers. That's amazing. Actually, it makes me laugh because it's not that many compared with everybody else. But actually, I didn't expect to get that many subscribers so fast. I mean, not so fast. It has been a couple of months, but just with the 3 videos that I posted, I didn't expect to have 40 plus subscribers already. And thank you very much, guys. And I hopefully give you more content from now on. I'm gonna set up a schedule for me so I can do more of this more often. So without further ado, let's go through the checklist. First, let's start with the pre-drive checklist. DMV people are actually checking that you know how to use your turn signals and your brake light. So it's a long list of things that the car is actually gonna pass because the car actually some of these doesn't need it because it has cameras, and the other ones the car is actually programmed to know to put the signals left and right. So I don't think it's gonna have a problem with that. So I didn't give it any errors on that. Parking lot driving. So the Tesla is pretty good in the parking lot. As we know, even without a person inside, it can actually drive back and forward throughout a parking lot. It actually can go and find you. So I didn't give it any errors in there because I think it's actually pretty good doing that. In the highway, in the form it has a highway section, but actually they don't they don't make you go into the highway here in California. So well, at least in Southern California, and they don't make you go into the highway. So the car gets a pass there, and actually I think it would do pretty well anyway because the autopilot is pretty good in the highway, especially because it doesn't need to turn or do any or check any stop signs or street light. So it's pretty good at the freeway. So it's a shame they don't check for that because it will get points, easy points for the autopilot in there. So in the intersection, they're looking that when you're going through the intersection, that you do a traffic check. So the autopilot with with 8 cameras, I think it would be pretty aware of where the other cars are at. So it's pretty aware of the traffic of what the traffic is. So I think it's good in that part. So speed, he actually knows the speed limit, so it gets a pass in there as well. So after that, it has a yell, so it would yell for other cars. So I think it does pretty good in there as well. But in the unnecessary stop, I gave it 2 errors because sometimes as I'm going through the intersection or I'm just driving in the street and there are cars first there are no cars in the street parked on the right side, and it does pretty good. As soon as it sees cars parked on the right hand side, it just think that those cars are part of the traffic, and it will actually brake because it sees those cars as cars that are just stopped in the middle of the street, even though they're just parked on the side. So hopefully I have a video to show you guys what I'm talking about, but it's very unnecessary stop or brake that the car does there. It doesn't do it as often. That's why I gave it 2 errors. I could have given 1, but it's actually very annoying and actually frequent. I would say like 20% of the time that it sees a car stops like that on the side, it would actually brake for some reason. So I would think that is actually because uh, Tesla is being very careful because they had a couple of accidents before where the car would hit park cars like fire trucks uh, stop at the side, or police car actually as well. It would just crash into police car or fire trucks. Talking about fire trucks. So yeah, I guess 2 errors there. So the stop part, mm, I gave it 2 errors for full stops as well, because full self-driving actually sees stop signs and traffic lights, but it's not 100% of the time. And so yeah, I don't think I should give it a pass in there because it actually missed the stop signs sometimes and the traffic light as well. So it gets 2 errors right there. Again, guys, this is just my opinion. Don't take it personally. I know that there is so many Tesla fanboys out there, and I'm one of them, but I'm not so hardcore as some Tesla fans. So just take it as my opinion, please. So let's continue, and the next thing is in the stop part. So the deceleration and braking, that is something really annoying that the car does when it's actually approaching other cars. Let's say that they are in a stop sign, or if they are in a traffic light, that is a red traffic light. When the car is approaching, it will actually brake really suddenly, and it's actually really annoying. Me and my girlfriend actually feel it like a hard brake like this, and it does it every time. But that's so up to preference of people. I never heard anybody else complain about that before, so I guess maybe we are really picky, but that's why I gave it 1 error in there, just because it's something that I personally don't like, and maybe an instructor actually wouldn't like as well, DMV instructor. So it gets an error right there as well. So the start actually no errors there, and the business, urban, and residential and rural is it's okay. It's a pass for me as well. And backing, yeah, the car actually can back itself pretty good. So on lane change, uh, so if you had the full self-driving, it actually can change lane pretty easily by itself and merge into from one highway to the other. So I think it doesn't get any errors in there. It can do it pretty good in my opinion. The turns. So this is a pretty tricky one because the uh, Tesla full self-driving doesn't actually turn on the street yet. It actually doesn't uh, turn by itself, I should say. Uh, so it will need a driver intervention for that. So I would just assume, I'm gonna assume that it does, just like the same way it does the lane changes in the highway. I would just assume the one lane change in the highway. How would the car do it on the street if it was just turning in an intersection. All right. So in the approach, to approach a turn, so again I will give an error on the deceleration and braking because the car just doesn't brake smoothly. In my opinion, the car just makes a sudden brake, and when it starts, it actually does a sudden start as well. Actually, it's pretty annoying when there is a car in front of you and just move a little bit because he has a gap in front of him. So the car will move a little bit, and then the autopilot will actually hit the acceleration pedal because it thinks the the car is gonna actually move forward, that the light's green now, or the car is gonna be gone real quick. So the car will actually accelerate pretty quick, even though the car in front just moved a little bit because it had a gap in front of him. So then this car would accelerate and then brake really hard. And so it's an error right there. I will give it traffic check. I think it's good. The signal actually good, and so on. And for the actual turn, so the traffic check, I would give it a one error for that one because something actually happened to me. I was using an autopilot and there was a curve. It was not a turn per se, but it was a really hard curve. After the curve, there was a red light, so there were a car stopped in there. I could see them, but it was pretty hard for the car to see because it was in such an angle that it was actually hard for the car to know where it would end up. So I just let it go to see what it would do. I knew it was not gonna detect it because the technology is not there yet, but I just wanted to see what it would do. So as I was approaching the light in the curve, the car actually gave up and just told me to take control of the car. So I had to take control of the car, even though I was ready because I knew it was not gonna do great. So I was ready to take control, but the car is not actually good at all checking for the traffic when it's in a curve, in a like a really hardcore curve that it doesn't know that there's gonna be cars in the way when it gets to make the curve. So I will give it an error right there because it actually is not good checking for the traffic during a curve. Okay, so I would think it would be the same thing when it's doing a turn. It would actually have no idea if there is cars blocking the street that is actually turning to. So I think one error is good for that. So after that, you have the geo. I think the car is pretty good knowing if there is other people getting in between getting in front of it. So it's good. The steering control, I think is pretty good most of the time. I don't think it deserves an error in there. So in too wide or short turn, we have to see for that one. I will give it a pass, but as I said, the car is not actually there yet. It's not actually doing turns on the street, but I would assume it would do it pretty good, just like it does the turns on the highway. And the same thing for the car changing to the correct lane. So the speed, the car knows the speed limit, so it's good on that. And the signal is good on that too. So that leaves us with a total of 8 errors. And the California Performance Evaluation score sheet says that to pass, you must not have more than 3 errors marked for the items 9 through 14 on their pre-drive checklist. So the car gets a pass in there, no errors, and no marks in the critical driving errors section. I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit. And no more than 15 errors marked in the scoring maneuvers. So the ones we just talked about are the scoring maneuvers. So it gets 8 errors on that. So you actually get a pass in those. But the critical driving error section, if it gets one error in that section, it will actually fail the test. So all good with the maneuvers. The car gets a couple of errors, but it actually passed all good in there. But if we go to the critical driving errors, so we see that it has line violation, but the Tesla Autopilot is pretty good in keeping you in the lane. Actually, sometimes it drifts off the lane a little bit, but it's actually understandable when it does it. It's like sometimes the street has so much like sudden curve. It's hard for the car to actually keep you in lane and at the same time not do like a sudden steering to one side or the other. So it's actually understandable when it doesn't keep you right in the center of the lane. So it gets a pass in there. So the auxiliary equipment used has 8 cameras helping it, but okay, it's a pass because it's part of the car and we are evaluating the car here. So the speed is actually looking at the speed limit the whole time. It's not like a person that would assume the speed limit is something that is not and drive over it. So the car actually estimate what the speed limit is to be safe and actually drive below the speed limit instead of higher than that. So the dangerous maneuver, the car actually maneuvers pretty good. It doesn't do like a unsafe maneuvers, in my opinion. Disobeyed safety personnel or safety vehicles. So no errors there. Disobey traffic sign or signals. It's no 100% of the time. So I would say that during a test in the DMV, it may not see the stop sign or it may not see a traffic light, but it's hard to say if it will happen during the test. So because of that, I'm just gonna give it a pass. Strikes object or the curve. So the car is pretty good at seeing what is in front of it and actually keeping you in the lane as well. So I don't think it gets an error in that part as well. But this one is the one that I think is pretty likely that will happen during a driving test with Tesla Autopilot, and it is intervention by the examiner. So if the examiner will be in the steering wheel, just checking what the car is doing and just letting it go by itself, it will need to intervene. So yeah, taking into consideration that the car sometimes would not know if there is a traffic light, a red traffic light in there or a stop sign. So I would think it's pretty likely that the examiner would have to intervene with the vehicle. So it would get an error there for me. And reading again what I said previously, if the driver gets a error in the critical driving error section, it will actually fail the test. So it gets a pass when we're looking at everything else because it gets 8 errors and it has up to 15 errors. But with the critical driving error, it would actually fail. So that's it, you guys. Thank you very much for watching. And if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe, and I promise to make more videos more often. And see you guys in the next one.